Today we are going to talk about an Invention Factory, a program that is actually teaching students how to invent by actually doing it or by inventing it. Cooper Union is a private college established in 1859 in New York City. It is considered among the top 10 engineering program in USA among the colleges that do not offer doctorate program. We have with us today Professor Alan Wolf, who is retired currently. He was the chair of physics department and surprising to many of us, also a JD or has a law degree. And we'll explain the significance of it as we go along probably. We have Professor Eric Lima, who is a professor in mechanical engineering and also a distinguished professor in bioengineering. The third person on the call besides me is Ruyintan Mehta. He has been an entrepreneur, founder of a manufacturing company based in USA. He's an IIT Bombay alum and also a co-founder of Maker Bhavan Foundation. With that preliminary introductions, I will jump right into asking questions. One of the first questions that I was actually quite curious about, although I've been associated with the program for a while, I have never quite figured out as to what prompted you, Alan, and Eric to come up with this concept. What is it that was going through your head at the time when you thought of it? Please.
So it was actually a year that I was serving as acting dean of the engineering school. A very generous gift came to me, and the only word that was used to describe the goal of the gift was to encourage innovation. And so I called Eric and I said, what can we do with this large amount of money that would directly benefit students, especially younger students, to be innovators, to be inventors. I was already not just a lawyer, but a patent lawyer. And the patent process to let students protect their inventions is just not done anywhere in undergraduate programs. So Eric and I sat down, and in the course of just a few days, we designed the program pretty much as it is today. We particularly wanted to get first and second year students involved because they come to college engineering school to learn how to build and invent and do creative things. And then we sort of kill them in the first few semesters with required courses in math and physics and chemistry in which they don't get to do those things. So basically, we wanted something on the other side of the academic program to give them an opportunity to be inventive and creative.
Thank you, Alan. Would you like to add something, Eric, to that?
I'd only say that the process of designing the program was really interesting in that we were ruthlessly removing things rather than adding things. We tried not to add too much about entrepreneurship and all the kind of things that are typical in these kinds of programs. So we basically pared down to the basics of allowing the students to be innovative.
In fact, what I found quite interesting about this Invention Factory program is just the focus that you guys have put on actually invention. I have been involved with creating maker spaces at various places, and you have the academic maker spaces at many universities in the US, but they are focused on building things, not as much as on inventing it. And there are a lot of incubation centers of cells, particularly at least in India, where they are focused on entrepreneurship. So yours is a very unique program as I see it. Having said that, I was myself not quite aware of the program. It is Ron who brought us an awareness of this program. Ron, how did you get engaged with this program? How did you get to know these people?
I had the good fortune of being connected with Cooper Union since way back in 2012, 2013 timeframe, when the I helped actually establish a student exchange program between my alma mater, IIT Bombay, and Cooper Union, where two or actually at one time even four students from IIT Bombay would spend a semester at Cooper Union, and reverse, a couple of students from Cooper Union, more than a couple, have actually gone to India and have spent a semester. At that time, the president of Cooper Union, Dr. Jamshed Bharucha, who we became quite friendly with, actually put me in touch about this program. And I started out around 2015, 14, 15 timeframe. I was a guest evaluator for several years. And coincidentally, I actually connected with another fellow alumni of IIT Bombay, Avinash, and he had been simultaneously involved also with this program and instituting it at Syracuse. So that's how I was very fortunate to find out about this program, and I liked it so much that I ended up becoming a judge in the last 2 years when it was held in New York pre-COVID.
I think Ron is being a little bit too modest over here. I think he has a particularly great ability to catch hold of fellow alums like me and Avinash and others to enthusiastically pursue this program, which he brought it to IIT Gandhinagar, one of the major IIT engineering college in India. And Ron has been really an instrumental in making this go forward.
Yeah, I can elaborate a little bit on that. So what happened was the four of us, that is Hemant, another gentleman who is from the class of 1975, Raj Mashruwala, Avinash, and I'm the old daddy. I'm from 1970 batch of IIT Bombay. We all decided that we will chip in an equal amount of donation to bring this really unique program to India. And IIT Gandhinagar, which is a relatively new IIT, but a dynamic institution, they were most enthusiastic. So that's how we got started. I think in 2018 was the first year we ran it, and we ran it again in 2019 there.
So turning our attention to actually talking about the programs that several Invention Factory programs that Alan and Eric have run so far. You have expanded from Cooper Union to running it at Syracuse, and then expanded to working at IIT Gandhinagar. And I believe this year it is starting at one of the other IITs, IIT Bombay. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts behind the expansion and the experience in expanding. And perhaps I'm not even aware that you may have expanded to other places as well. So please talk about that.
Not yet. What it requires is it's an interesting program to try to scale because it requires at each institution a few faculty who will sit all day, every day with 20 students and not teach class and not lecture at the students, except a little bit. And we'll just help them invent. We'll critique their presentations. We'll give them guidance on patent things, or usually I do that. And it's, for a lot of faculty, it's challenging to think about being in a room with 20 students and not have a lesson plan and not have, something sort of canned and ready for presentation. So typically what happens at any of the institutions, same thing, we start out with 20 students who on the first day will often not have any idea of an invention. They will have to turn into 10 teams of 2, and they will have to, by Friday of the first week, have a partner, have an invention, and check patents, which I teach them to do, to make sure that this invention has a chance of being patentable. No point in making an invention that's already out there. And then starting in week 2, they dive in, design, prototyping, presentation, a focus on communication skills, ultimately drafting a patent application, and a very intensive process. It hasn't really been different at the different institutions. At Cooper Union, we limited it to engineering students. At Syracuse, we had students from many different disciplines, including fields like psychology, all over campus. At IIT, engineering students, design students. Creativity doesn't seem to depend, innovation ability doesn't seem to depend on grades, academic performance. And somehow magically within 6 weeks, every single team every year at these institutions has completed an invention, a patent application, and a prototype that is usually more or less fully functioning. The only difference between the 3 institutions is that the IIT students are better, smarter, more prepared than the students at our other institutions.
I must admit that I did not pay these guys to give compliments to IIT students, but we believe that is true. Eric?
I want to add, just to speak to why we wanted to go to different institutions. And the answer is quite simple, is that the program really meets a need. It's one of the best parts of our year to interact with the students. The students themselves benefit greatly. Often we hear a really simple summation students express with some wonder. They say, you know, you believed in us when we didn't believe in ourselves. And that's pretty much true. We see incredible growth with the students. We have a great time, and then we're able to connect alumni back to the student body in a really interesting and sort of generative way, where the students are creating something that's interesting and the alumni are able to participate in that. And so we wanted it to spread to different places. And in fact, we were asked by previous alumni, hey, can you bring it to Syracuse? Hey, can you bring it to another place, you know, IITs. So it's spreading organically. And then, you know, we have people that want to join the umbrella to teach.
Can I add something about an unexpected consequence of the program? And this goes back to when I was acting dean. I had many companies send their CEOs to do a courtesy visit to me when I was dean of the engineering school. And they said, your students are fabulous, your Cooper Union students. Their technical skills are outstanding. If there's one thing that could stand improvement, it's their communication skills. And it was not something that we set out to change in a big way. But when we look at where our students are after 6 weeks in this program, they're confident, they know how to stand up and give a presentation, how to give a pitch. They know how to face real-time hard questions. And of course, this serves them in 100 different ways, right? Whether they're going to be applying to graduate school or getting a job or asking for a promotion. It wasn't by design, but it was critical to the program that they ultimately convinced the judges, the guest evaluators, that their inventions were needed and were wonderful solutions to problems that people faced. And that meant we really had to put a strong emphasis on communication skills, which engineering schools do not put enough attention on.
So
Alan,
I'll give you a chance in a second, Ron. I would add a bit about the structure of the program. I think it is, as it is run in IIT Gandhinagar, it's a 6-week long program. And after the second week, all the student teams are made to present their ideas to a panel of evaluators, which are basically called from outside industry or the other faculty members. And at every week with the peer feedback as well as the feedback from the panel, you go on refining the ideas as well as spend some time in the later part of it, building the prototype, and then learning how to write a pattern. And those patterns are actually provisional patterns put forward in the US as well as in India. And at the final week, there is a demonstration of all their work by the various teams, and the final panel of judges actually select and give a prize of, I believe it is 3 prizes, first, second, and third. Pardon me if I mischaracterize any part of the plan because I've only been an observer. Ron, you wanted to add something that I cut you off, please.
No, I was.
If I have already
The side effect program about communication skills. Our Maker Bhavan Foundation has actually spawned an entire center for essential skills, where the first 2 courses that we have developed and which were actually rolled out at IITs and other institutions in India were on communication skills, which we agree totally is quite often lacking in engineering and science-oriented students.
So I want to leave some time to actually talk about one project that you found interesting that has come out from any of your programs. Which one impressed you the most as a project? Trying to give an idea of what kind of projects you're seeing.
Eric, why don't we each pick one of our favorites? I'll let you go first.
Oh, you're gonna make me go first? All right. You know, it is there is over 150 inventions, and so it's hard, and some of them feel really amazing. So it's hard to choose, but I'm going to tell you the one that just jumps to my mind, and it was because of its simplicity. It was a winner in IIT Gandhinagar, and it was basically a way of weeding and farming and irrigating all in the same thing. It was a sheet of plastic that you roll out and you poke holes into to plant your seeds, but integrated into the plastic were channels, plastic channels, so that you could irrigate, drip irrigate, and apply a smoke-based pesticide to the plants locally. So it was very easy to manufacture. It solved many problems. It was cheap. It was well executed and prototyped, and it was something that the American students were not thinking about, but the Indian students were, and they did a really bang-up job to make it happen. So that's mine.
I'm going to pick a very different kind of invention, and this is from Cooper Union in New York. These were 2 students who went to a school for severely autistic children, and they learned that there was a huge need. The program focuses intensely on need. Ideally, what you invent should serve the needs of millions, tens of millions of people. They learned that severely autistic children who are on the rise, the number of such children, many of them do not speak at all. And so if they are hungry, if they need to go to the bathroom, if they are feeling ill, if they are lost, they can't communicate this to their teachers or their parents. And so the 2 students built a wristwatch that was something that the parents could modify in terms of its sort of content. And it was also intended for children who might not have good motor skills. And basically, there was, if you rotated the bezel on the watch, a little picture would come up of food. It would say the word food, or a toilet, or some other simple pictogram. And if they pressed the button, it would speak it out loud so the teacher could hear the need. And it would also send a text to the parents, so the parents would know that the child in school had that need. And they made there was a lot of very good circuit work. They made a not larger than life-size, fully functioning version of this. It was shown to the head of a school for severely autistic children in New York, who said this was better than any product on the market that attempts to address this kind of need.
How fascinating. Both of you have chosen, and one extreme, you have an example of a very low tech, but very much solving the problem of the need-based stuff. And on the other hand, Alan, you have chosen a project which is considerably higher tech, but also based on the real need. So this is a wonderful exposition of the kind of projects you guys carry through. I have just two more questions before we'll conclude. One is to Alan and Eric, and I'm not trying to be difficult here, but I have always tried to understand. I have always tried to understand about any program as to what is its long-term impact. Are you actually seeing the students who run through this program develop an attitude and a skill set to apply this skill of invention throughout their life after graduation? What has been your experience?
I'm going to speak, I think, for both of us, because it's something that Eric and I have talked about a great deal since before the program existed. Many schools that have entrepreneurship programs, which this is not an entrepreneurship program, but they limit those programs to graduating seniors because they want to ensure that the students will not drop out of school to start a business and leave their institution. And they want to make sure that the students are really ready to move forward. And we're at the opposite end of the spectrum. We tend to take first and second year students, although we're open to every year, because we don't know that they will want to make the decision to move forward with this specific invention, but we want them to have all of the tools. We want them to know about protecting their intellectual property. We want them to know about the importance of meeting a need, of working with a budget, of working with time constraints. So we think we give them those skills. And different students have gone on to do different things. Many of them have won grants, have gone on to win prizes. A few of them are starting businesses. But many of them decide this was a great experience. Now I'm going to go back and focus on my coursework until I graduate. And then maybe I will pick up this invention, or I will be ready to do a different invention after I graduate.
If Eric has nothing more to add, I will ask a question to Ron. Ron, I think you have been a leader on this program from Maker Bhavan Foundation end. What do you see as a scope for expansion? What are your thoughts about expanding more into India? What do you see, or what would you like to see?
The first thing that we need to do is, obviously, Eric and Alan are limited by the amount of time they can spend. So we need to develop excellent faculty who will mirror more or less what Alan and Eric have been doing in the US, and actually have helped train several people at IIT Gandhinagar. For example, Professor Nitin George, who now is our Invention Factory India program convener, he has been so well trained that he can pretty much run this program, no offense meant, but without Alan and Eric being there. And
That's
we
a good thing.
have to develop more such faculty at various institutions in India, because without the support of this faculty, this program cannot go to scale. The second part is, it is a fairly expensive program, and it costs a fair amount of money, because we do provide students with full room and board, a stipend to basically cover their costs, and also for the invention materials itself. So all of that is also going to require some significant amount of fundraising. And last but not the least is enthusiastic support from various institutions like other IITs. And success breeds unto itself. Our own alma mater initially was not very enthusiastic, but when they saw the huge success that this program received by having close to 175 applications from students at 10 different IITs, they immediately came to us and said, hey, would you institute this program at our place? So we expect that maybe in the next 5 years, we should be able to have this program expand to maybe another 3 or 4 more institutions, at least.
Thank you.
Can I toss in a quick story? At the end of one of the programs, there was a feast, and it was for myself and Eric and all 20 students and the IIT faculty who had helped us, participated, and others, and the funders. And one of the guest judges said, I was very leery when I heard about this program. He said, in 6 weeks, you're going to have a bunch of undergraduates go from nothing to a patentable invention. He said, I've now been involved in this for 2 years. And in 2 years, I have watched all of these teams come up with amazing inventions. He said, so I went back to my own company. I think he was maybe a pharmaceutical CEO. And he got all of his engineers and scientists together. And he said, if these kids can do this in 6 weeks, I don't know why you're taking so long to make inventions.
That's a wonderful story. I think it's a great one on the note of which to conclude this conversation. Thank you all. I'm going to